After dinner with my wife's family at a fancy restaurant, she shocked me by demanding that I pay the $8,800 bill. She said, "It's your job to pay. If you don't like it, get a divorce. You're not part of our family." I paid and left feeling hurt, but 2 hours later she called me in a panic. There are certain nights in a man's life when he realizes without a doubt that he does not belong, that he is a guest in his own marriage, a tolerated presence in a world where every glance, every word, every smirk is a reminder that he is the outsider. That night, sitting at an absurdly overpriced restaurant with my wife and her family, I felt it in my bones. The place reeked of wealth, crystal chandeliers, candlelit tables draped in pristine white, servers moving like shadows in their black uniforms carrying plates of steak that cost more than my car payment. It wasn't my kind of place. If it were up to me, we'd be eating at a cozy, mid-range steakhouse where I didn't have to pretend to enjoy conversations about designer handbags and exclusive vacation resorts. But it was never up to me. Claire, my wife, was in her element. She sat between her sister Ivy and their mother Eleanor, both of them dressed in the kind of dresses that looked simple but cost a fortune. Claire's father, Charles, a man whose presence always felt more like a board meeting than a family gathering, sat across from me, his expression unreadable as he sipped his whiskey. I focused on my steak, chewing slowly, ignoring the subtle barbs Eleanor had been throwing at me all night. "So, still working that same job?" she asked, her voice dripping with polite contempt. I nodded, not bothering to look up. "Yes, still at it. I heard they're laying people off in your field. You must be worried." I swallowed my frustration with a sip of water. Claire didn't come to my defense. She never did when it came to her mother. Instead, she smirked, twirling the stem of her wineglass between her fingers. Ivy giggled. "It must be exhausting, working so much and still barely keeping up," she added, her voice smooth, calculated. Charles simply sat back, watching like a man who already knew how the night would end. I should have seen it coming. The waiter arrived with the bill, placing the small leather folder on the table. I didn't reach for it. We had agreed to split the bill beforehand. I was already annoyed that I had to sit through this charade, but at least I wouldn't be footing the entire check for a dinner I barely enjoyed. Then Claire did something that made my stomach drop. She pushed the bill toward me. "Go ahead, pay it," she said, her voice light, amused. I frowned. "I thought we were splitting." She laughed. Not the warm, genuine laugh she used to have when we first met, but the cold, practiced kind that made my skin crawl. "It's your job to pay. If you don't like it, get a divorce. You're not part of our family anyway." The words felt like a slap. My gaze snapped up to her, then to Eleanor, who looked satisfied, and Ivy, who bit her lip to stifle a laugh. Charles simply raised his glass in silent acknowledgement. They planned this. I glanced down at the bill, my stomach twisting. $8,800. I gripped the edge of the table, my jaw tightening. The entire night had been a setup. The fancy restaurant, the casual Japs, the way they had ordered without restraint, bottles of wine, imported seafood, the most expensive dishes on the menu. They never planned to pay. This was humiliation. A test. I looked at Claire again, searching for even the smallest sign that she might be joking. But she just stared back, waiting, daring me to protest. I could feel every eye in the restaurant on me. My blood ran cold. For a brief moment I considered standing up, walking out, letting them figure it out themselves. But I knew exactly what would happen if I did. The story would be rewritten. I wouldn't be the man standing up for himself. I would be the man who abandoned his wife. The pathetic husband who made his wife's family cover a bill he should have been able to afford. I took out my card, paid. The waiter left, and as soon as the receipt was signed I stood up. I didn't say a word. I didn't look at Claire, Eleanor, or Ivy. I didn't care about their reactions. I just walked out. I barely heard Claire's voice behind me, laughing, probably making some remark about how predictable I was. The cold night air hit my face as I stepped outside. My hands were trembling, not from fear, but from rage. I had let this go on for too long. I had tolerated too much. Claire and her family had been testing me for years, pushing boundaries, seeing how much I would take before I broke. Tonight, I broke. I walked to my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My heart was pounding. I wasn't even sure where I was going. I just knew I couldn't go home. Not yet. As I pulled out onto the street, I realized something with crystal clarity. This marriage was over. She just didn't know it yet. I drove aimlessly through the city, my knuckles aching from the tight grip I had on the steering wheel. The dashboard clock read PM, but I wasn't ready to go home. Home didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a trap, a place where I was nothing more than a paycheck, a stepping stone for Claire and her family to climb higher. I replayed the dinner in my head, the smug looks, the humiliating way she tossed the bill at me as if I were nothing more than a human wallet. "Go ahead, pay it. It's your job. If you don't like it, get a divorce." The words seared into my mind like a brand, each syllable digging deeper into the wound. She didn't respect me. She never had. I should have left her years ago. I turned onto a quiet street, the city lights flickering in the rearview mirror. I needed time to think, to process. But the anger inside me burned hotter with every passing second. My bank account was $8,800 lighter. And for what? A night of being ridiculed? A dinner I didn't even enjoy? I had swallowed my pride for too long, but not anymore. The phone buzzed on the passenger seat. Claire. I ignored it. A second time, a third. By the fourth, my jaw clenched so tight I thought my teeth might crack. She had some nerve calling me after what she pulled tonight. When it rang the fifth time, I picked up, my voice sharp and cold. "What?" There was no arrogance in her tone now. No condescension, just fear. Come home now. My grip tightened on the phone. I should have hung up, let her sit in whatever mess she had created for herself. But something about the way her voice trembled sent a sliver of unease through me. Why? Someone broke in, she whispered. A pause, then a click. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my pulse hammering. For a moment, I debated whether this was just another game, a manipulation tactic, a way to guilt me into coming back. But no, this felt different. Claire never sounded scared. She never needed me for anything, and now she was begging. I made a U-turn so fast the tires screeched against the asphalt. When I pulled into the driveway, the house was eerily dark. The only light came from the dim glow of the porch bulb, casting long shadows across the front lawn. Claire stood outside, arms wrapped around herself, pacing. She was barefoot, her silk dress from dinner wrinkled, her hair disheveled like she'd been pulling at it. The moment she saw my car, she ran toward me, gripping my arm. Thank God you're here. I didn't respond. My mind was already scanning the house, the driveway, the street behind us. Everything looked normal, but something felt off. Tell me what happened, I said, my voice level. She swallowed hard. I was upstairs changing when I heard a noise downstairs. Footsteps. Then the power went out. I frowned. Power's out. She nodded. I tried turning on the lights. Nothing worked. I grabbed my phone and hid in the closet. I studied her, looking for any sign of deception. Claire was a lot of things. Manipulative, cunning, selfish, but she wasn't a liar when it came to fear. And right now she was terrified. I reached for the front door handle. It swung open too easily. Unlocked. My stomach tightened. Claire never left doors unlocked. She gripped my wrist. Don't go in. Call the police. I ignored her and stepped inside. The silence was suffocating. My footsteps felt too loud against the hardwood floor as I moved through the entryway. I reached for the light switch out of instinct. Nothing. I pulled out my phone, its screen casting a dim glow. The air was thick, almost suffocating, like the walls were holding their breath. Then I saw it. The back door. It was open, just slightly, enough for someone to have slipped out. I moved quickly, checking the rooms one by one. Living room, intact. Kitchen, untouched. But when I reached the bedroom, my stomach dropped. Claire's jewelry box lay open, its compartments empty. Her purse was spilled across the floor, contents scattered. And the safe, the one where she kept emergency cash, was wide open, gutted. She appeared in the doorway behind me, hands clutched to her chest. The moment she saw the mess, she gasped. My money's gone. I turned slowly, my expression unreadable. How much? Everything. My diamonds, my emergency cash gone. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. I just said, call the police. She hesitated. That was all I needed to know. I took a slow step toward her, my pulse hammering. Claire, call the police. Her lips parted but no words came out. Red flag. A storm of realization hit me all at once. The tension in her shoulders, the way she refused to meet my eyes, the way she paused before answering me. I wasn't stupid. This wasn't just a break-in. Claire knew something I didn't and she was hiding it. We can't, she whispered finally. The breath left my lungs in a slow, cold exhale. Why not? She chewed on her lip, her entire body too stiff. And then, without looking at me, she said it. Because I think I know who did this. My stomach dropped. The room around us felt smaller, the shadows stretching longer. I took another step toward her, my voice barely above a whisper. Claire, what did you do? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I already knew. I stood in the dimly lit bedroom, my gaze fixed on Claire, who still hadn't answered my question. What did you do? Her arms tightened around herself, her body language screaming guilt. The silence between us stretched thick and suffocating, filling every inch of the house. A house that no longer felt like mine. The bedroom was a mess. Her purse overturned, the safe emptied, the jewelry box looted. Yet, despite the wreckage, nothing else in the house had been touched. No broken windows, no forced entry, no ransacked living room. It wasn't a random break-in. Whoever had done this knew exactly what they were looking for, and Claire knew exactly who they were. I took a slow step toward her. She flinched. Claire. My voice was steady but my patience was razor thin. Who did this? She bit her lip, her eyes darting toward the door like she was considering bolting. I blocked her path. You're not leaving until you tell me the truth. Her breath hitched. It's complicated, uncomplicated. Her shoulders slumped. And finally she spoke. I think it was Vincent. I didn't recognize the name, but the way she said it, the way her voice dropped to a whisper as if just saying it out loud was dangerous, made something cold slither down my spine. Who the hell is Vincent? I asked. Her jaw clenched, and for a moment she looked like she wanted to lie. Then finally she sighed. He's someone I owe money to. The words hit like a hammer to the chest. I stared at her, trying to process what she had just said. Owe money to? She nodded, unable to meet my eyes. How much? Silence. That was all the answer I needed. I took a deep breath, forcing down the burning frustration rising inside me. How much? Her lips parted, and when she finally spoke her voice was barely audible. 50,000. The room tilted. I had to take a step back like the air had been punched out of my lungs. $50,000, I laughed. A hollow, disbelieving laugh that tasted bitter. $50, Claire? I shook my head, running a hand through my hair. What the hell did you even need that much money for? Her lower lip trembled. I thought I could turn a profit. A profit? I repeated, my voice flat. She nodded quickly, like she needed to convince herself more than me. I invested it. I was going to surprise you. Maybe book that Europe trip you always talked about, buy us a new car. I cut her off. Invested it where, Claire? Stocks? Crypto? What? She hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. My hands balled into fists. You gambled it away, didn't you? She opened her mouth, closed it. Guilt flashed across her face. I laughed again, shaking my head. Unbelievable. For years I had sacrificed for this marriage. I worked overtime, paid the bills, covered her unnecessary spending because she had convinced me that she needed to enjoy life. And all this time, she was blowing $50 on get-rich-quick schemes. I was trying to help us, she whispered, voice trembling. Help? I scoffed. You just got us robbed, Claire. That's not help. That's selfish and stupid. Her face twisted. I didn't mean for this to happen, but it did. I gestured around the room. And now we're standing here in our looted house because of you. So tell me, what's the next step? You think Vincent is just going to let this go? Her breath came faster, her panic rising. I was going to pay him back. I had a plan. Oh yeah. I took a step closer, forcing her to meet my gaze. What was your plan, Claire? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you were just hoping this would all magically disappear. She looked away, her silence answering for her. That was it. That was the moment I knew. Our marriage was dead. Not because of the money, not because of the robbery, but because I didn't trust her anymore. And trust, once broken, is almost impossible to fix. I turned and walked toward the door. Where are you going? She asked, her voice shaking. To think, I said. Because if I stayed in this house any longer, I wasn't sure what I'd do. Claire had betrayed me. She had dragged me into her mess, all while treating me like nothing more than an ATM. And now someone dangerous was after her, which meant they were after me too. I stepped outside, letting the cold night air hit my face. The street was eerily quiet. Too quiet. I glanced toward the end of the block. A black SUV was parked there, its headlights off. A bad feeling crawled up my spine. I turned back to the house, my mind racing. Claire had lied to me. She had gambled away $50. She had brought danger to our doorstep. And the worst part? This was only the beginning. I just didn't know how bad it was going to get. I stood outside the house, staring at the black SUV parked at the end of the block. It wasn't moving. No headlights, no engine noise, just sitting there. My pulse quickened. The weight of Claire's confession still pressing against my chest. $50. She owed someone $50,000 and never thought to tell me. Not when she borrowed it, not when she lost it. Not even when she knew she couldn't pay it back. And now our home had been robbed, and some stranger in an unmarked SUV was watching us. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about survival. I turned back toward the house, my mind racing. I had a choice. Walk away from this mess before it dragged me under, or step inside and figure out just how deep Claire had buried herself. I hated that I still cared. I hated that a part of me still felt responsible for her. I walked back inside. Claire was in the bedroom, still standing where I had left her, staring at the empty jewelry box. She looked smaller now. Not the same woman who had laughed at me over dinner, pushing an $8,800 bill in my direction like it was a joke. No. This Claire was different. This Claire was scared. Good. She should be. Check everything, I said, my voice sharp, controlled. She blinked, her hands tightening around the edge of the dresser. What? Check your accounts, your credit cards, your safe. I want to know exactly how much is missing. She hesitated. I exhaled slowly, forcing my voice to stay level. Now, Claire. She grabbed her phone with shaking fingers, scrolling through her banking app. Her breath hitched. My checking account, it's empty. I clenched my jaw. How much was in there? Almost $8,000. A bitter laugh escaped me. $8,000. Not even close to what she owed, but still enough to sting. What about your savings? She checked, then froze. My stomach twisted. Claire. She slowly lifted her eyes to mine, and for the first time tonight I saw real panic. They took everything. My fingers curled into fists. Everything. I turned on my heel, marching to the closet where we kept the small safe. The door was slightly ajar, the electronic keypad blinking, waiting for an input. It had been forced open. I yanked the door wider, staring inside, completely empty. The emergency cash gone. My passport gone. A wave of cold fury spread through my veins. I turned back to Claire. How did they get the code, Claire? My voice was tight, barely containing my anger. Her face paled. I don't know. Try again. I took a slow step toward her, voice low. This wasn't a random break-in. They knew exactly where to look. They knew about the safe, the accounts, the jewelry. She swallowed hard, her eyes darting away. Claire. Her silence stretched long and damning. Then she whispered, I told Vincent about it. The room tilted. I squeezed my eyes shut for half a second, pressing my fingers to the bridge of my nose. You what? I didn't think. No. I cut her off. You didn't think. That's the problem, Claire. You never think. You owed a loan shark 50 grand, and your best idea was to tell him where we keep our emergency cash. She flinched. I thought he'd understand. I was going to use some of it to start paying him back? I stared at her, unable to believe what I was hearing. You just handed him a blueprint to rob us. Her lower lip trembled. I didn't think he'd actually do it. My laughter was bitter, sharp. You don't owe money to people like Vincent and expect mercy, Claire. You don't gamble with money you don't have. You don't. I stopped mid-sentence because a new thought was forming in my head. A darker, colder thought. What if this wasn't just about Vincent collecting his debt? What if Claire had done this on purpose? I scanned the room again. The safe, the missing money, the fact that I was suddenly supposed to step in and clean up her mess. This was a setup. I had been played. Tell me the truth, Claire. My voice was ice. Did you stage this? Her eyes widened. What? No, I would never. Wouldn't you? I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Because I've been thinking, Claire. You humiliated me at dinner, pushed an $8,800 bill at me like it was a joke. Now suddenly our house is robbed and you're broke? Convenient, isn't it? You think she choked on the words, her hands trembling. I would never. You already lied about the money. Why should I believe anything you say? She clutched her arms, shaking her head rapidly. I swear, I didn't set this up. I didn't want this to happen. I studied her carefully, watching the way her breathing hitched, the way her fingers clenched around her phone. Maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe she wasn't. Either way, I was done cleaning up her messes. I turned toward the bedroom door. What are you doing? She asked. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Her breath hitched. Wait, where are you going? We need to figure this out. I stopped in the doorway, glancing back. There's no we anymore, Claire. For the first time that night, I saw fear in her eyes that had nothing to do with Vincent or missing money. She realized she was alone, and I was done. I walked out, not stopping as she called after me. I grabbed my jacket, my car keys, and stepped out into the cold night air. The black SUV was gone, but I had a feeling this wasn't over, not by a long shot. I drove without a destination, the city lights blurring past as my mind raced. Claire had gambled away $50,000 to a man named Vincent. She had lied to me about it. And now, because of her recklessness, we had been robbed. No, she had been robbed. But somehow, I was the one paying for it. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles turning white. My jaw ached from how hard I'd been clenching it since I left the house. Every part of me burned with frustration, not just because of the money, not just because of the robbery, but because I had been so stupid. For years I had convinced myself that Claire was just careless, not malicious, that her spending habits were just bad decisions, not intentional selfishness. But this was betrayal. She had taken a loan, $50, without telling me. She had gambled it away like it was play money, and when she couldn't pay it back, she had let a criminal right to our home. The worst part? She hadn't even told me out of guilt. She told me because she had no choice. I pulled into a dark parking lot, cutting the engine. My hands shook as I ran them over my face. I needed to think. How deep was she in? How dangerous was Vincent? And, most importantly, how the hell was I getting out of this mess? As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Claire. I ignored it. A minute later she called again, then a text. Please come home, we need to talk. I let out a humorless laugh. Now she wanted to talk. I stared at the screen, my mind churning. I could ignore her. I could walk away right now and let her deal with the hellstorm she had created. But if Vincent was serious, if he had actually robbed us, this wasn't over, and I needed answers. With a deep breath I started the car and turned back toward home. When I stepped inside, Claire was sitting on the couch, her legs curled under her. She looked smaller, her usually perfect posture gone, her confidence stripped away. Good. She should feel small. She should feel exactly how she made me feel at that damn dinner table. She looked up as I entered, her face pale. I didn't think you'd come back, she said softly. Neither did I replied, closing the door behind me. She swallowed hard. Please sit, let me explain. I didn't move. No more games, Claire. No more lies. Start from the beginning. She hesitated, then took a deep breath. I met Vincent through a friend. He helps people invest. I thought it was legit. And how did that work out for you? My voice was sharp, unforgiving. She winced. I gave him to start. He said it would double in a month, and it did. My stomach twisted. You actually got money back? She nodded. At first, yes. It felt easy, like I had found a shortcut. I exhaled slowly, and then, she swallowed hard. I reinvested more money this time. 20,000 and then 30, but I got greedy. I didn't pull out when I should have, and suddenly the money was gone. Vincent said it was a bad trade, that I should invest more to recover my losses. I closed my eyes, my head pounding. And you did, she nodded, guilt all over her face. $50, Claire? You thought throwing in even more money would fix it? Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't care. She had destroyed us with her stupidity. And when you couldn't pay him back? I pressed. Her lips trembled. He started threatening me. My heart pounded. How? She wiped at her face, her fingers shaking. Texts, calls. He said he'd take what he was owed, that if I didn't pay soon he'd come collecting. I felt my blood run cold. So you told him about the safe? She nodded miserably. I thought if he saw we didn't have enough he'd back off. But instead he sent people to take whatever they could. I clenched my jaw, anger coursing through me. You let him inside our home, Claire. She started crying harder. I didn't know what else to do. I turned away, my hands on my hips, trying to breathe through the fury. This wasn't just a bad decision. This was betrayal, not just to me but to our home, to our safety. How much time did he give you? I asked after a long pause. She hesitated. That 1 second of hesitation told me everything. Claire, my voice was dangerously low. How much time? Her shoulders shook. He wants the money by tomorrow. I felt the world shift under my feet. Tomorrow? I snapped. And you're just telling me this now? She sobbed into her hands. I was scared. I grabbed the nearest chair and slammed it against the wall. It shattered into pieces, the loud crack echoing through the house. Claire jumped, gasping. You were scared? My voice was raw. You weren't scared when you were taking his money. You weren't scared when you were gambling it all away. But now that you've put both of us in danger, now you want to cry? She whimpered. Please don't yell. I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to calm down. Fine. Crying wouldn't fix this. Anger wouldn't fix this. I needed a plan. How does Vincent usually collect his debts? I asked after a long silence. She wiped her face. Sometimes he just takes valuables, but if someone owes a lot. She hesitated again. Claire. My patience was gone. She swallowed. He makes them work for him. A sick feeling settled in my gut. Work how? She didn't answer. I already knew. Vincent didn't just loan money, he owned people. And Claire? She had just put herself on his list. The house was silent except for Claire's uneven breathing. She sat curled on the couch, her knees pulled to her chest, her hands clutching her arms like she was trying to hold herself together. I stood near the doorway staring at her, my mind racing. Vincent wanted his money by tomorrow. We didn't have it. And now Claire was telling me that if she couldn't pay, he'd make her work for him. She never said what that meant, but I didn't need details. I knew the type of men like Vincent. Loan sharks didn't just take back what was owed. They collected money, property, people, and Claire had offered herself up on a silver platter. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling slowly. Think. We had nothing left, no savings, no emergency cash. I had separate accounts Claire couldn't touch, but even if I drained everything, it wouldn't add up to $50 overnight. And even if it did, why should I save her? She did this. She put us in this mess. She had humiliated me, lied to me, gambled away our safety, and let a criminal into our home. And now she expected me to fix it. I clenched my jaw. No, I won't be her safety net anymore. I turned toward the stairs. Where are you going? Claire's voice was small, scared to sleep. She flinched. But what do we do? I don't know, Claire. I didn't look at her. You figure it out. And for the first time in our marriage, I meant it. I left her sitting there, her soft cries filling the empty house as I walked away. I barely slept. Not because of Claire, not because of the money, but because something about this entire situation felt off. The robbery, the timing, the fact that Vincent had waited until tonight to take everything. This wasn't just about debt, this was about control. He was making a statement. And men like Vincent? They didn't just take money, they took power. A chill crawled up my spine. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. 3:12 a.m. I woke up to a sound, a knock, slow, deliberate. My stomach tightened. I slid out of bed silently, grabbing the bat I kept under the nightstand. The house was still dark, the only light coming from the dim glow of the street lamps outside. Another knock. 3 times even, unhurried. I moved through the hallway, my heart hammering. When I reached the living room, Claire was already standing by the door, frozen. Don't open it, I ordered. She flinched but didn't move. I stepped closer, gripping the bat tighter. The locks were still in place. Who is it? I called out. Silence. Then a voice. Calm, smooth, dangerous. Good evening. I didn't recognize it. We're looking for Claire. A cold weight settled in my chest. I glanced at Claire. Her face had gone pale, her fingers clutching the hem of her shirt. She knew exactly who it was. Vincent. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my pulse. She's not available, I said evenly. A pause, then a chuckle. I think you misunderstand, my friend. She owes me, and I always collect. I exchanged a look with Claire. She was shaking. I turned back to the door. She'll pay you, just not tonight. Oh, I know she will. Something in his tone made the hair on my arms rise. He wasn't just here to talk, he was testing me. I tightened my grip on the bat. Come back in the morning. Another pause, then the sound of a lighter flicking. A deep inhale. I think I'll wait right here. My blood went cold. Claire whimpered beside me. I leaned toward her, whispering, go to the bedroom. Lock the door. No. Now, Claire. She hesitated, then ran. I turned back to the door. My mind raced. He wasn't leaving. And if I let this continue, he would push further. I had to make a choice. I unlocked the deadbolt, swung the door open. Vincent stood there, tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in all black. Behind him, 2 men stood like statues, their expressions blank. He smiled. A predator's smile. Now that's better, he said smoothly. I didn't step aside, didn't let him in. You took what was in the house, I said coldly. That should be enough. His smile widened. It's not. He took a step forward. I didn't move. The air between us was thick, the kind of tension that only existed when 2 men knew that one of them had to break first. She'll get your money, I said. Vincent chuckled. Oh, I know she will. But see, I like to ensure cooperation. I clenched my jaw, which means his eyes gleamed, which means she starts working off the debt. Now the rage inside me exploded. I took a step forward, gripping the bat tight. She's not going anywhere with you. One of his men shifted. The other reached into his jacket. Vincent lifted a hand, stopping them. You're brave. I like that. He exhaled, flicking the cigarette onto my porch. Fine. You have until tomorrow night. $50. Cash. No more stalling. I didn't answer. He smiled. See you soon. Then he turned, walking back toward the black SUV. His men followed. I watched as they drove off, the tension in my body coiling so tightly I thought I might snap. When I closed the door, Claire was sobbing in the hallway. I stared at her, my mind numb. Tomorrow, $50 where Vincent would own her. I should have left her to rot. But now, I had one night to figure out how to end this because I wasn't just saving Claire, I was saving myself. I locked the door behind me and stood in the dimly lit hallway, my chest rising and falling with each heavy breath. Vincent was gone for now, but his words still clung to the air like smoke, suffocating, unshakable. Tomorrow night, $50. No more stalling, $50,000 in 24 hours. It wasn't possible. And yet, if I failed, Claire wouldn't be the only one suffering. I turned to look at her. She sat curled against the wall, her arms wrapped around her knees, her entire body trembling. I should have felt sorry for her, but I didn't. She had done this to herself, to us. And the worst part, I wasn't sure if she even cared. You lied to me, I said. My voice low, controlled. She sniffled but didn't respond. You lied about the money. About Vincent. You let him inside our home. I took a step closer, my fists clenched. And now you're expecting me to fix it? Her head snapped up, her tear-streaked face twisting with something ugly. I didn't expect any of this to happen, she snapped. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. You didn't expect to lose $50? You didn't expect a loan shark to come after you? I shook my head. You gambled, Claire, and you lost. She glared at me, her fear momentarily replaced with something else, resentment. Oh, so now you're the perfect husband? Like you've never made mistakes? I took a slow, deliberate step toward her, my voice dropping. My mistakes didn't get us robbed. My mistakes didn't put us in debt to a man who will take everything from us if we don't pay him back. My mistakes didn't betray the person who was supposed to be my partner. She flinched, but I wasn't done. So don't sit there and act like this is just another argument. This is life and death, Claire. Her lip trembled. I know. Do you? I shot back. Because you've spent this entire time making excuses instead of admitting what you did. She sucked in a shaky breath. What do you want me to say? The truth, I said. Her mouth opened, but I cut her off. And not just about the money, about everything. She froze. I narrowed my eyes. What aren't you telling me? Her silence stretched. I stepped closer, my patience snapping. Claire. Fine, she suddenly blurted out. I stiffened. She wiped at her face, her fingers trembling. Vincent isn't just a loan shark. My stomach twisted. What? She hesitated. Claire, if you lie to me one more time, I swear to God. I dated him, she whispered. The air left my lungs. I stared at her, unable to process the words. You. I shook my head. You were with him? She nodded, her eyes dropping to the floor. A rush of rage shot through me so fast I had to grip the edge of the table just to stay upright. So this isn't just about money, I said coldly. It's about him, about you. She swallowed hard. It was a long time ago. Does he know that? Her silence was enough of an answer. I turned away, my hand shaking. This wasn't just debt, this was personal. And now, everything made sense. The way Vincent had smiled at me like he already owned something of mine. The way Claire had hesitated when I asked about how deep she was in. The robbery, the threats. He wasn't just collecting money, he was collecting her. I exhaled slowly, trying to force my brain to think through the rage. This changed everything. If Vincent wanted revenge, if this was about me as much as it was about Claire, then no amount of money would fix this. He would come for us no matter what. And Claire? She knew it. She had known it all along. You should have told me, I said, my voice dangerously low. She let out a choked sob. I was scared. Scared of what? I snapped. That I'd leave? That I'd find out you weren't just reckless but a liar too? She didn't answer because we both knew the truth. She had never planned on telling me. If I hadn't pushed, she would have let Vincent bleed us dry. Or worse, I ran a hand through my hair, my thoughts racing. I needed a plan. I needed to get out of this. But most of all, I needed to decide one thing. Was Claire worth saving? I turned to look at her, watching as she wiped at her face, her shoulders shaking. She looked pathetic, small, and for the first time in years I didn't feel the urge to comfort her. I felt nothing at all. I'll handle this, I finally said. Her head snapped up. How? Don't worry about it. She swallowed. You? You're not going to do anything crazy, are you? I met her gaze, my expression unreadable. Go to bed, Claire. She hesitated. But now she jumped at the sharpness of my voice without another word. She hurried upstairs, leaving me standing in the dark. I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. This was the moment I stopped being the fool in this marriage. The moment I stopped cleaning up her messes because I wasn't going to bail her out this time. I was going to end this. And Vincent? He had no idea what was coming for him. The house was quiet, too quiet. Claire had gone upstairs, her footsteps hesitant as she climbed the stairs. I knew she wasn't sleeping. She was lying there in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering what I was going to do next. She should be worried, because for the first time since this mess started, I wasn't thinking about how to protect her. I was thinking about how to protect myself. I sat at the kitchen table, my hands clasped in front of me, my mind racing. Vincent had made it clear. I had until tomorrow night to pay him. But even if I got the money, what then? Would he really just walk away? No, men like him didn't just walk away. Vincent wasn't after money anymore. He was after power. He wanted control over Claire, and if I let him take it, I knew it wouldn't end there. He would come back again and again until I had nothing left. No, this had to end tonight. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through my contacts. I hesitated for a moment, then tapped the name. The call rang once, twice, then a voice answered. Didn't think I'd hear from you again. I exhaled slowly. Yeah, well, I need a favor. A pause, then a low chuckle. This favor, is it legal? Not exactly. That's what I thought. Silence stretched between us. Then tell me everything. I did. 2 hours later I was dressed in black. Jeans, hoodie, gloves. I moved quietly, every step calculated. I had left the house through the back door, making sure Claire wouldn't hear me leave. Not that she cared. She had done nothing to fix this mess. No solutions, no apologies, just silence. But silence wouldn't save us. So I had called someone who could, someone who owed me, someone who wasn't afraid to get their hands dirty. I reached the address Vincent had texted Claire earlier, the one she had ignored but I hadn't. A cheap rental house on the bad side of town, lights off, cars parked haphazardly out front. My guy was already waiting in a car across the street. You sure about this? He asked as I slid into the passenger seat. Do I have another choice? He smirked. No, you don't. We sat there watching, waiting. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. Then, movement. The front door opened. A figure stepped outside. Vincent. He was alone. No guards this time. No backup. Just him, lighting a cigarette, standing on his porch like he had all the time in the world. I took a slow breath. Let's do this. We moved fast, silent. By the time Vincent heard us, it was too late. He turned just as my guy grabbed him from behind, shoving him against the wall. His cigarette fell to the ground, rolling onto the pavement. "The hell?" Vincent started, but I cut him off. I stepped in front of him, staring into his wide, furious eyes. "Change of plans," I said flatly. His lips curled into a smirk. "You came to pay up after all?" I punched him hard in the gut. He let out a choked gasp, doubling over. Wrong answer. I grabbed his shirt, shoving him back against the wall. My guy pressed a knee into Vincent's back, keeping him in place. $50, I murmured. "That's what she owes you?" Vincent coughed, spitting onto the pavement. "She owes me a lot more than that." "Oh, I know," I said. I leaned in, lowering my voice. "See, I figured it out, Vincent. This isn't about money. It's about Claire." Something flashed in his eyes. "She didn't tell you everything, did she?" he said, his voice taunting despite the position he was in. "No, but I'm not stupid." I tightened my grip on his shirt. "She used you, didn't she? Played you just like she played me." He gritted his teeth. There it was. The real reason he wanted her back. It wasn't just business. It was personal. "Here's the thing, Vincent," I continued. "I don't give a damn about Claire anymore. But I'm not letting you use her to come after me." His smirk returned. "And what are you going to do about it?" I smiled. "I'm glad you asked." I stepped aside, letting my guy move in. Vincent barely had time to react before he was dragged toward the car. "What the HEY?" he struggled. But we were stronger. Seconds later, the trunk slammed shut. Dark, secure. He wasn't going anywhere. I took a deep breath, wiping my hands on my jeans. "What now?" my guy asked. I exhaled. We let him think for a while. "And Claire?" I glanced toward the house, my stomach twisting. "She's not my problem anymore." 4 hours later, I walked back into the house, closing the door behind me. Claire was still awake. She sat on the couch, looking up at me with wide, terrified eyes. "Where were you?" she whispered. I stared at her. A million answers ran through my head, but only one felt right. "Fixing your mistakes." Her mouth opened, then closed. She knew better than to ask. I walked past her, heading upstairs. I was done explaining myself. She had made her choices. And now? So had I. Tomorrow, Vincent wouldn't be a problem. And neither would Claire. Because when the sun came up, I was walking away from this life, from her, from all of it. And I wasn't looking back. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of Claire, not because of Vincent, but because for the first time in a long time, I felt calm. Everything was clear now. Claire had lied to me, betrayed me, humiliated me, and expected me to clean up her mess. Vincent had threatened me, robbed me, and tried to use my wife as a pawn in his twisted game. And now I had turned the tables. Vincent was gone. And Claire, she would be next. The first light of dawn crept through the curtains as I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, staring at my reflection. I looked different. No more tension in my jaw. No more anger simmering beneath my skin. I looked like a man freeing himself. A knock at the door. Soft, hesitant. "Claire, are you awake?" she called. I wiped my face with a towel, then opened the door. She stood there in an oversized sweatshirt, her arms wrapped around herself, her face pale from a night of no sleep. "You left last night," she said carefully. "Where did you go?" I stared at her for a long moment, then I stepped past her. No answer, no reaction, just silence. That's when she panicked. "Wait." She grabbed my arm. "What's going to happen to Vincent?" I turned my head slowly. "Why do you care?" Her grip loosened. I just want to know if we're safe." I smirked. She flinched at the way I said it. I pulled my arm away and walked toward the kitchen, making myself a cup of coffee as if nothing was wrong. As if we were a normal husband and wife waking up for a peaceful morning together. Claire hovered nearby, watching me, waiting for an explanation. She wouldn't get one. She didn't deserve it. Instead, I sat down at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee, letting the silence stretch. "You're scaring me," she admitted. I glanced up at her, my face blank. "Good." Her breath hitched. "What does that mean?" I set my mug down, tilting my head. "You're not stupid, Claire." A pause. Then, realization flickered across her face. Her lips parted slightly. "You did something." I smiled. She took a slow step backward. What did you do?" I exhaled, leaning back in my chair. "Let's just say Vincent won't be bothering us anymore." She swallowed hard. No. I cut her off. "I didn't kill him if that's what you're thinking. But let's just say he won't be making threats anytime soon." She looked at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe I had become someone new, someone who didn't let himself get used, manipulated, controlled. Claire let out a shaky breath, running a hand through her hair. "So it's over," she whispered. I chuckled. The audacity. "For me, yes," I said. She blinked. "What do you mean?" I stood, grabbing my coffee mug and walking toward the sink. "I mean I'm done, Claire." Her face paled. "Done?" I turned to face her, my voice calm, unshakable. "I'm leaving." The words hit her like a slap. She took a step forward, her eyes wide. "Wait, no, you can't just." "I can," I said firmly, "and I am." She shook her head, panic flashing across her face. "We can fix this," she pleaded. I almost laughed. "Fix what? The debt? The lies? The fact that you let another man into our home and thought I'd just keep forgiving you?" Tears filled her eyes. "I made mistakes." "No, Claire," I said coldly. "You made choices." She pressed a hand to her mouth, her whole body trembling. I walked past her, heading toward the bedroom. I grabbed the small bag I had packed last night. Not much. Just clothes, my essentials, my passport, everything else. She could keep it. I didn't want anything that tied me to this life anymore. "Please," Claire whispered behind me. I zipped up my bag. She walked toward me slowly, her eyes desperate. "Don't do this. I can fix it. I can." "No, Claire," I interrupted. Her breath hitched. "You had your chance over and over again. And every time you chose yourself, you chose money, you chose lies." A tear slipped down her cheek. I love you, she whispered. I stared at her for a long moment, then I shook my head. No, Claire, you love control and you lost it. I turned and walked toward the front door. She followed, her voice cracking. Please don't go. I stopped with my hand on the doorknob. For a second I almost turned back. Almost. But then I remembered the dinner bill, the laughter, the way she had pushed the receipt toward me and told me to pay it or get divorced. She had made her choice, so I made mine. I opened the door. Goodbye, Claire. Then I walked out. 2 weeks later I was sitting in a new apartment, small but mine. My name on the lease, my own space. I hadn't spoken to Claire since I left. I didn't need to. But one morning, I got a call from a mutual friend. You won't believe what happened to Claire, he said. I smirked. Try me. Vincent's people turned on her. She tried to get another loan to fix her situation, but it backfired. She's got nothing left. I exhaled slowly, feeling nothing. And her family? I asked. Cut her off the moment you left. Poetic justice. I sipped my coffee, staring out at the city. Claire had built a house of lies, and now she was watching it burn. Karma was a beautiful thing. And me? I was finally free. 2 weeks had passed since I walked out of that house, leaving Claire and her mess behind. And every single day since I had woken up feeling lighter, freer. It was like I had been holding my breath for years, drowning in expectations, manipulation, and Claire's never-ending selfishness. Now finally I could breathe again. I sat on the balcony of my new apartment, sipping my coffee as the morning sun bathed the city in warm light. The apartment wasn't much, just a one-bedroom, sparsely furnished, no luxury or grandeur like the house Claire and I shared, but it was mine. For the first time in years, I didn't have to worry about who was plotting against me in my own home. No backstabbing, no lies, no waking up to find that my bank account had been emptied because Claire had decided she needed another shopping spree. Just peace, and I had earned it. My phone buzzed beside me, breaking my thoughts. I glanced at the screen. Claire, I smirked. Of course, she had been calling for days. Texting, emailing, even tried to get through to me on social media. I had ignored every attempt. She wasn't sorry. She was just alone, and Claire didn't know how to survive without someone cleaning up her messes. I let the phone ring until it stopped. Then, not a minute later, a notification popped up. A voicemail. Curious, I put the phone on speaker and played it. Her voice came through shaky and desperate. Please just call me back. I need to talk to you. I took another sip of coffee, unmoved. I know I screwed up, okay? I was selfish. I should have told you everything from the start. I should have treated you better. But you just... She let out a choked sob. You just left. I raised an eyebrow. I left? Was that what she told herself? That she had no part in driving me away? Her voice cracked. I'm scared. Vincent's people are after me. I have nothing left. No money, no family. My parents won't even answer my calls. Ivy won't talk to me. I don't know what to do. I could almost picture her curled up in whatever cheap motel she was probably staying in now, her world crumbling around her. Karma. It really was a beautiful thing. The voicemail continued. I don't want money. I don't want anything. I just want to see you. I laughed under my breath. See me? She hadn't wanted to see me when she was pushing an $8,800 dinner bill in my direction. She hadn't wanted to see me when she was lying to my face about her debt. She had only ever seen me as a resource, a means to an end, and now that she had no means left, she thought I'd come running back. The voicemail ended. I deleted it without a second thought. Later that afternoon, I met up with a friend for lunch, Alex. He had been the one to tell me about Claire's downfall, about how Vincent's people had turned on her when they realized she had nothing left to give. So, Alex said, taking a sip of his beer, she reached out again, didn't she? I smirked. Yep. He shook his head. Man, I bet she never saw this coming. She never thought I'd leave. And that was the truth. Claire had spent our entire marriage pushing boundaries, testing limits, seeing how much she could take from me before I snapped. She had thought I would always be there, that no matter how badly she treated me, I would stay. Because I was the nice guy, the loyal husband, the one who always forgave. She had miscalculated. Alex leaned back in his chair watching me. You seem different. Good different. He nodded. Yeah, lighter, happier. I exhaled slowly, glancing out the window at the bustling streets. I am. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying someone else's problems on my shoulders. I wasn't worried about fixing anything. I was just living. So what's next? Alex asked. I shrugged. Whatever I want, and that was the best part. No more family dinners with people who hated me. No more waking up to find my bank account drained. No more walking on eggshells in my own home. Just freedom. Claire would figure out her own life. Or she wouldn't. Either way, it wasn't my problem anymore. 1 month later, it took about a month for the messages to finally stop. The calls slowed, then they disappeared. Claire had moved on, or more likely she had found some other poor soul to latch onto. But me? I was better than ever. I had picked up an old hobby again, guitar, something I had put aside for years because Claire had called it a waste of time. I had started working out more, getting back in shape, feeling stronger than I had in years. I even booked a solo trip to the mountains, something Claire would have never let me do because she needed attention 24/7. Now I didn't have to ask for permission. I didn't have to explain myself. I just did what made me happy. And damn, it felt amazing. 3 months later, I ran into Alex again at a cafe. He smirked when he saw me. Still ignoring Claire? I chuckled. She stopped calling. Good for you, man. He clinked his coffee cup against mine. Then he leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. You hear what happened to her? I raised an eyebrow. No. Should I care? He grinned. She tried to reach out to you again. I let out a slow, satisfied exhale. That's funny. I took a sip of my coffee because I blocked her months ago. Alex laughed. Damn, man, cold. I just smiled. It wasn't cold. It was freedom. And freedom never tasted sweeter.